This heroin rehabilitation program is the longest and best in Vietnam, according to the Army Medical Corps' chief psychiatrist. And what are the results? Of the patients who have gone through the course so far, 1 out of 3 has failed immediately. The other 2 have left here okay, but there are no statistics to show what has happened to them since. Sam Donaldson, ABC News, Cam Ranh Bay.
Got the 2 before is ready to lay the form in now.
Special troops said that as soon as we get the boards put in their foundation that we can get the cement.
Well, I suggested what you do is you put a layer of laterite first and then put your forms up and go on through.
Right, sir. We'll set the forms in and have cement walkways all through the areas, through the ward area, admin building, down to the center chapel, sir.
How many people do you have assisting today?
We've got, I think it's the full complement of about 20. Sergeant Major was down here, and the CO were following up on that, make sure we had the detailed people all here, and they've worked with Sergeant Pritchett here.
What is your schedule as far as the completion of the new processing facility?
We'll have it finished in about 6 days, sir, ready to process the patients there. Right now we're processing into wards, and then also we'll be going into Ward 3 to complete it.
I noticed when I was down at the beach area, the fence extension down to the water line. Were we planning on putting wire fencing as far as going into the water to provide a barrier area?
Well, we will have a barrier, but we'll continue on out at low tide with 24 more feet of fence on each side, right down to the water at low tide.
Sergeant, do you and the other NCOs treat these men as if they're outcasts, they're prisoners, they've done something wrong that's very bad and brings discredit on the Army?
Sir, that would be the worst thing that could ever happen to a man who's a victim of drug addiction. This man is faced with a problem. It's a tremendous problem, but this individual is sick. He's really physically sick, and therefore he needs all the help that he can possibly get. There is one thing I would say, however, that you treat him firm but fairly.
Now, what is their attitude when they come through the course? As I understand it, only 4 have so far come through the whole 2 weeks since you're just getting geared up here. How do they feel then?
Some are very happy, very happy. I had one man to tell me that he was so happy he didn't know what to do. The first time in a month that he was able to go to the PX, his cost was just that great.
Why did you and the other people here volunteer to work in this program?
Sir, we volunteered for this program because there is a definite need for volunteers. The people need help, and someone who has to work with them must be individuals who are willing to help. Not ordered to help, but willing to help because there is a need. And I'm just thankful for the fact that we have as many as we do. We could use some more later on who would be willing to come here and share these experiences and do everything that they can help. We've got to understand that this is a challenge that the American Army has not faced before. That is this challenge of heroin addiction. But we've faced many challenges before, and we feel that we can lick this like we licked anything else.
You really think the Army can solve it?
I'm quite sure that we'll do our part. But you know, for the Army to do its part, it requires the full weight, bulk, and might of all America. These are our men. These are American soldiers, black or white. They're American soldiers, and it requires our help. It's a concentrated effort that must be done by all America. This problem is not here in Vietnam alone. This problem is home. Many of these problems began at home. The ghettos, the byways, people who were denied, people who felt frustrated and all these type of things. These are home problems that came all the way here, 10,000 miles away. And if we can't see it that way, then we're blind. All America is blind.
I read these programs and I realized when I went home and leave how the world was changing. My little sister's 13 years old and she's doing acid now. And that hurt me, just because I knew that I can see how my parents felt when they knew I was on drugs at a younger age.
You feel you had an influence on her?
I love my sister. I love her. I told her if I ever caught her even smoking grass, I told her time and time again, you saw how I went.
Do you think there's any way that you could maybe get that same identification with any of the guys around here?
Get more people like this, if you can just get them to talk and rap. I was rapping last night to a friend in the next ward. I sat up and rapped with him till about 1 o'clock.
But, you know, it's like this having somebody to talk to type thing. You know.
One thing that's made me just completely not understand what was going on is sometimes I'd be in my hooch fixing up my cigarette, and the first sergeant would walk in and he'd see me making it, and I'd just drop it, and he'd turn around and look at the next guy and ignore exactly what I was doing. He paid no attention whatsoever.
Do you feel like you really knew what you were doing, or do you think that's part of the problem, that maybe we've got some of our folks that really aren't that familiar with it, that they can look right at you and watch you doing it and they would never know?
That's the problem. They do know. They do know. I asked my CO, I asked him and said, did you actually know that I was on these drugs for the 5 months that I was here? He said, sure. He says, we all knew. We know everyone that's on the drugs right now. I said, well, don't y'all ever do anything to even stop it? Or I said, well, we try to get the mama signs, stop them from coming in. But it's not the mama signs. They stop the mama signs from coming in. It's usually now you have to go up on the hill or to the ville to get it. And that's the main problem.
I think he was trying to say he do not understand the legal aspect of this thing, where that he can drop the cigarette on the floor and the law can't touch it.
Yeah.
Neither do I.
But they don't know a lot of the people that are doing smack, because nobody back in my company knew that I was doing smack at all.
Oh yeah, they know. I know.
You knew, but
I was the first sergeant.
But most of the other people didn't. You were my first sergeant before, and when you left, then, you know, like people, there was a complete change in command, and the rest of the people didn't, the only reason you knew is because up in their little rooms.
But you know, when you take, like you say, you was on the stuff and didn't nobody know, well, everybody's running from it now. I mean, what can you do? You catch a man with the stuff, what do they do to him? Nothing. And like you say, you drop it on the floor, he's innocent. So, I mean, the law is tying all of our hands, but the first sergeant, the CO, sergeant major, and the colonel, they're the people that suffers behind this thing. The troops get away. Well, what do you do when you catch the man?
You know, like the guys that they've been catching, they only catch the guys that are using usually. I know of one company, the major pusher in my area. You know, the major pushers in my area are in this one company, and like they are holding, you know, at times like up to 700 vials, and they never have a shakedown. And it's impossible to miss 700 vials in a guy's footlocker, but yet they'll never hold a shakedown to try and catch you in this particular company because they don't, you know, particularly care, really.
You know, why is it that the dope addict will not tell on its source when he knows the stuff is doing him harm, because he's here trying to get help now? He want to kick it, but he will not tell where this evil is coming from so that we can mash the real source. None of them will tell.
I don't know.
But why? Why won't they tell?
I don't know.
It's just something that you've grown up with. I mean, your people, your own people. I mean, you grew back in the world. You didn't want to cop out with the law. The law was always on you. And if you were your own people, I mean, why would you rat on your own people?
They're killing you, though. They're destroying you. I mean, They are the ones that got your sister in the shape she's in. They're the ones that have you in your shape. Because if you couldn't get it, you couldn't be like this. But then you got someone over there that's working for someone big, that's smart enough to supply you. And you get busted. All right, let's say you don't get busted. You just wake up one day like you did. You ask for amnesty. You want to get off this stuff. I said, okay, what was your source? Well, I think you told me mama signs or I go to the Ville. I said, was it the girls in the company? You said, no, just mama signs. But you will not point to anyone, or you won't tell. If it was a GI friend, you won't tell on him. He can't be a friend because he's destroying you. So why is it this bond between the drug addicts and the pushers so tight that no one will tell who it is?
I think it's kind of ingrained in the American way. Not being like you're not supposed to tell. It's, it's
well,
this.
Let me ask you flat out, has it got anything to do with fear?
And it's a little bit of fear, too, because you're going to get messed up probably if they find out that, I know I'd mess somebody up if he told on me,
Yeah.
And, so.
Is the case it's cutting off your source also?
Probably.
That's the biggest reason.
More than likely. They won't.
You don't want to jeopardize possibly your next bunkmate, his chances of getting something? You want him to make his decision?
No, it's not that. I suppose it's more a personal thing. It's not worrying about your buddy over there, worrying about where he's going to get his junk, because I could really care less. I hope he doesn't.
But it's written from people that it doesn't seem like I'm from this place or something. And when they're writing it from their point of view, it just has no meaning for me.
Have you ever looked in the lines to see the word help will help you?
Yes, I know that's. I wanted to help myself. I'm down into the elementary schools, and that started changing my mind around. And it's just getting you to where you're seeing more of reality and wanting to come down. And you're finally just beginning to realize that there is life worth living for, I guess. But I go back to Vietnam. What good's it gonna do you?
Does it bug you to watch any of your buddies doing anything like this? In that same way, I mean, where you feel like, good God, is there anything I can do to help them too?
Well, like, I've got a real nice friend back in the company that's been trying to help me.
He's straight.
He's straight. But before I went home on leave, he was the one that was carrying the drugs, and his flight was canceled, and he gave the drugs to me. And I was busted for it, and when we got back here to Vietnam, we got everything settled out, and he went completely straight. And that's when I had a bunch of my stuff stolen and everything. And
no, what I was shooting at was that, one of the nice spin-offs out of a program like we got here is if we could just say that, boy, the 6 guys right here could maybe leave here and go out and help us a little bit,
Right, if you can just tell you so much of just what you're wanting to know. I mean, it's really just a lot of life in the Bible. If more people could just rap together, it'd bring everything closer together.
I think it might interest him if you bring out your philosophy about what we were talking about yesterday, about when you leave here, as far as your own feelings about going back to the unit you came in from.
Yes.
Or moving, man.
Yes.
To go, say, up north, up around Pleiku or Queen Yan or someplace where you didn't know. I mean, with the idea in mind, you could find it.
Yeah, it helped because you'd have to make different type friends, new friends.
This is the point I'm making.
And
with 5 months left to do over here. Frankly, that
was going to scare me.
Yeah.
Because
it scares me too.
It's happened 3 times now. I've tried to come on and off, and every time I go back to the company, it's just all over. And I just can't run away from it. I don't know why.
What do you think we could do here to prevent that kind of thing? A guy walks out the front door and after 14 days down here, and look at it 2 ways. From the selfish standpoint.
Sergeant Bushell, when a man comes in here, he's volunteered to come in here. How do you keep him, however, from slipping and getting another supply of heroin and using it while he's right here?
Well, what we do, we try to run a tight ring of security, checking the area, checking the man thoroughly before he comes into the place, checking when he goes out, checking when he comes back in. It's usually someone to go with him to attend to his wants with him and all, to see that he doesn't cop anything on the way in or out.
Now, a man comes in here voluntarily, but do you find that many of them, after they're here a day or two, start getting so bad that they want to leave?
That certainly is the truth. Some feel as if they're going to climb the wall, but we're there to rap with them, talk with them, do anything, stay up all hours of night if necessary, and try to get them to see that we're here to help them kick this habit. And in many cases, it does the job.
Well, now, they're really going through some sort of physical torture when they're withdrawing. Describe it to us.
The physical torture that they actually endure is intense stomach cramps, the joints ache, that is arms and legs, the whole torso is going through something which is just tremendous. And with each man, every experience is not the same. Some even go to the experience of excessive vomiting. There's cold sweats, chills, the same as if an individual might have malaria or something of this particular nature. Every man, this demon heroin affects people in many different